Sam. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And we got a special guest today that Sam's going to introduce. Known him for a long time. Go ahead, brother.
I wouldn't actually say I've known him for a long time. I've known of him for a long time. He was
That's what
always
I
kind
meant.
of like this figure,
That's
Eric
what I meant.
Paskin from California. And I was at a conference, what was it, like earlier in the spring, and I just vibed with this dude. You know what I mean? But it's so funny, like we look at what we do professionally, like it wasn't the allure. I really find that at 9 years of continuous sobriety and what my life looks like today, I vibe with like fellow family men, you know? Like that's what draws me to people. When I can look and talk to another man in recovery and be like, this guy has several children, he's married, and he's smiling at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Like, he must know what's good, you know? Like, he must know what's up. And that was my experience with Eric Paskin. Eric, how's it going, bro?
It's great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I
man.
really appreciate it.
So I always kind of like knew, like I said before, the story of Eric Paskin. I knew people that worked for him. I knew he was an East Coast guy that went out west. And after I got to know him, we kind of had some crosses in our story sort of periodically throughout periods of time. But I mean, mainly the fact that he's from Baltimore. I mean, you don't meet a lot of people that are like from the city of Baltimore. And I spent 2 years of active addiction in the city of Baltimore. So anyone I can interact with that's from that environment, I have a great deal of respect for, because
It's a rough environment.
It is downright raw. Like my time in Baltimore versus my time like in, say, like North Philadelphia, where you'd think would be very similar, and they're not. Like Baltimore made my skin tough. You know what I mean? So tell me more about it, dude. Start from the beginning.
So, again, thanks for having me on,
Yeah.
guys. And I feel the same way about you, Sam. And I've respected Vinny for a really long time. He was like an OG. So it's funny, sitting here
Yeah.
now, and it's like, and we were talking before we started, all the similarities, all
Sure.
the people we know, all
Yep.
our paths crossing. So to be clear, I grew up outside of Baltimore initially. I'm from Howard County. I'm born in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
My mother married a number of times. Her last husband was in Baltimore, so we relocated to Baltimore and Howard County. And I'm one of those dummies that placed themselves in Baltimore and then never left.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I came from a confusing background. I think I shared with you, I'm going to be 49 years old. My genetic father's black. My mother's white. 49 years ago, that wasn't the coolest thing. Now it's Gap ads and, all kinds of biracial and this and that. And they have to have colors of everybody. But back then, I didn't really identify with being black or white.
Yeah.
And it was a big struggle for me coming up.
Sure. Yeah.
And, sometimes, with 18 years sobriety, it still pops up. These issues, we think these issues go away, and some do.
Sure.
For a period of time. And then some come back and remind me that I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, you harbor those things.
Yeah.
They don't go away. You suppress them.
I hear you. Not even after almost 39 years. I can tell you that.
I believe it.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long
I
time.
celebrate my 39th anniversary this Friday, actually.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
you. 8/15/86.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just about a month before I turned 21.
I was negative
Yeah.
5 years old. Yeah. Yeah.
So, my mother had remarried. We moved to the suburbs of Baltimore. And, at a real early age, even before this particular marriage, I found that alcohol. So, to back up a little bit, there was my mother remarried three times. My mother's second husband adopted me. There was a name change. There was a battle in courts with my grandmother. My genetic father had passed away.
How old were you when that battle took place?
I was about 4.
Oh, okay.
So I was very young.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my grandmother initially won custody, but then gave it up. And so there's all this.
Your paternal grandmother?
My paternal grandmother.
No way.
So and this just came up because my grandmother passed away 9 years ago, and one of the things she always wanted me to do was change my name back to my birth name.
I got you.
And my grandmother had passed away 9 years ago, and we just had lunch with my aunts, my father's twin sister and his oldest sister, who I'm still very close with.
Oh, good.
And in that lunch, my aunt pulled me to the side and gave me an envelope. And in the envelope was a number of Series EE savings bonds that my grandmother had been buying for me
Oh my God.
way.
for a number of years.
How about that?
With my birth name on it. So this last month or two, I've been trying to get this adoption unsealed and trying to get this
show that you're
situated
this
to show that I'm
person.
this person
Yeah.
so that I could take possession of this money. So it did bring up a bunch of stuff around identity and
Sure.
race and who am I, and
Whoa.
and I'm going to be 49 years
Right.
old with a long time in sobriety, and it's still, it came up, and it had me thinking about my own kids and wanting them to have a life that I didn't have.
Of course.
Right. So when Sam introduced me, he was talking about my wife and my kids, and those things are my greatest joy. Like,
Absolutely.
listen, my wife and I go through it sometimes.
Sure.
But my children, my 3 sons, 13, 9, and 4, are my life. And all my successes, the business I'm in, the organization that I own, the people I employ, those are all wonderful things, and they provide a great life for me. But my greatest sense of joy and purpose are my children. And my first 4th step with my sponsor,
The first time you did number 4?
first time, he asked me, how would I define a successful life? And I was somebody who came up without a real father figure. I mean, my mother had been married, but my adoptive father and I we haven't spoken in 25
Oh, wow.
years.
Oh, wow.
My stepfather passed away last year, and we had periods of tumultuous relationship. He was a great guy.
With your real father?
Well, he had passed away when my parents had separated at 2, and he died when I was 4. My genetic
okay.
father.
Okay.
So I've always searched for a father figure.
Correct.
And for me, the thing I said is I want to be a husband and a father. That's how I define success.
You said that on your first
On
4
my
step?
first 4 step.
Wow.
Now, remember, I was 2 weeks shy of my 31st birthday. So I don't think of that as young. I think of, when I hear guys getting sober at 20 and 21 and 22, I think of that as young. I think of that
absolutely.
as like, and not to diminish anybody's using, but like that's like dipping a toe in. And
Well, not when you start at the age of 12.
Right.
It's not dip, it's plunge. You know what I'm saying? I was plunging by 20.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Me too. I was completely burnt out. By the
Oh,
time
yeah,
I
my
was
God,
25, I looked like.
It depends on your length of,
So I lost an entire decade from
Sure.
20 to 30. It was
Gotcha.
gone. I wiped it off the map. I lost everything in active addiction. I didn't have a single. I'm sure I had somebody I could have called, but at the time, and the day I stopped using, it wasn't like anything. Maybe it was mysterious. I was going to cop heroin.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking down the street in my neighborhood. I had bought this house in Highlandtown in a period of recovery, and basically we had turned the whole house into a shooting gallery. Yeah, I mean, we had pulled the pipes out of the walls.
Oh, my God.
I had guys
yeah.
sticking people up in the house.
Wow.
We had women turning tricks, and we were robbing the John. I mean, it was really, really bad.
Unfortunately, that's like pretty on brand for a bando, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a bando, but it was.
It was.
It was headed in that
It was
direction.
heading in that direction.
Yeah.
So I remember this day being very clear to me. I was walking down the street, probably in the middle of the street, shuffling around, thinking to myself, how was I going to get $10 or $20 or $30 together. And that was every day. That was my existence.
You wake up and
Absolutely.
you're
At that point,
automatically in debt.
I was already sick. You know, the minute I got up to go out, and this particular day, I remember the sun was shining and I was walking, and I just had this unbelievable feeling of hopelessness and despair. And I had stopped many times. I started going to AA when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I had started my introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was 18 years old. I had gotten arrested at a concert.
Okay.
I was in a blackout.
Court mandated AA?
Where they were like, you got to go to meetings. You
Yeah.
got to go to this. You got to go. I tried to fight the police, basically.
Of course.
In a
Yeah,
blackout.
yeah, yeah.
And they said, you got to go to AA. So I went to AA, and like many young people in AA who aren't ready to surrender, that they have an illness, I looked at these people and I was like, they've given up. That was really how I kind of looked at it. I was like, these guys have given up. And I would give up too. I'll stop too when I get to that. And so fast forward a dozen years later, I had no relationships. I had nobody to call. I had more than one very serious drug dealer looking for me
Yeah, a lot of debt.
to take my life.
Yeah.
I believe it.
And I was walking down the street, and it just hit me. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I can't continue on like this.
The moment of sanity.
Yeah, and it was so, the feeling was so overwhelming. It was so apparent to me. And granted, I had no health insurance because I hadn't worked in a year. The house was definitely, the police were watching the house.
Okay.
Dealers were watching the house. I mean,
Foreclosure?
it was wild. House was in foreclosure.
Yeah.
It was
I
really,
figured
really
That
bad.
goes,
That goes
without
without
saying.
saying.
Drug dealer had the car. It was really, really, really dire straits. And I didn't know. I knew that meetings were there. But at that moment, everything was so daunting because I had people in my house. I had, the house was basically being overrun by drug dealers, and we were dealing out of the house and using in the house and committing crimes in the house. And I was basically like, I just have to leave the house. And I had called this guy who was not in the program, who was a friend, who is a friend, and who we had worked together at a car dealership together. And he dropped everything, came and picked me up, and basically took me to, it wasn't a program. It was a shelter-ish type, state-funded.
Salvation Army type deal.
Similar to a Salvation Army. It's defunct now. That I think they were...
There's a lot of those in Baltimore. too.
Medicaid fraud and all these other things took it down. But I remember being there, and I had gone there once before. And it's interesting how things work, where I'm in this place, and I wouldn't even call them a counselor because they probably weren't credentialed at the time.
They were probably BHTs,
Yeah,
you know
so
what I mean?
right.
Like a
So
behavioral health tech.
So this person said,
Right.
hey, I remember you from last time. Do you remember this kid? He was here the last time you were here. I heard he's in South Florida in a halfway house. This was not even sober. Now we have sober living and this and programming in sober living. We're talking halfway house.
OG halfway house.
$100 a week.
Yeah.
Piss test,
Yep.
Urinalysis, whatever. And that was it. So she said, I heard he's in Florida and he's doing really well. What if we get him on the phone with you? Maybe you can go down there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I said, well, I don't have any money to go to Florida. I don't have any. And at this time, I wasn't speaking to my mother. My mother and I had not really, we had spoken, but I was causing too much trouble in her own life, in her own marriage, My stepfather was like, I'm tired of getting robbed by this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he's got to go. And that was at 26.
That's par for the course.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know.
I mean, in hindsight, of course, I understand
Sure,
it, right?
sure.
But here's the thing. That was the seed, because I remember my mother, my biggest enabler and codependent, had never told me no. My mother came into shooting galleries in East Baltimore and got me. My mother dragged me out of places. And finally, she said no at 26. She said, you got to go.
Oh, she finally did.
And I still didn't stop for another 4.5 years. But I knew that I used that as kind of the catalyst to get there, but it took me a lot longer.
Beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was the start. I had to lose a lot more. I had to burn a lot more bridges.
Yeah, you weren't done yet.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm in this program, and the counselor says, well, let's try to call your mother. And she calls my mother, and my mother agrees to put me on a plane and pay for 2 weeks halfway house rent
Nice.
and give them. She wouldn't even give it to me.
Of course not. You
$300
can't be trusted with money.
right, $300. Right? $300 bucks.
Cool.
And bought me some clothes because I had enough. I literally left that day in the street. I left with literally the T-shirt on my back, filthy. Showering had stopped a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hygiene had
Hygiene
stopped
always
long.
goes.
I had abscesses everywhere.
man.
I had blood poisoning from an abscess. I was in really, really rough shape. And my mother agreed to send me down, and how funny things work, how the world, the connections.
Sure.
That kid that was in that program with me prior, he was my first employee. He's been working for me for 12 years.
How about that?
No way.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
He's still employed by me. He was the first person I ever hired when I went out on my own.
That's great.
And he's been working for me for 12 years.
No way.
And he was maybe the catalyst, maybe the reason, because I personally don't think I could have stayed clean in Baltimore. It just was not. There are some, I am always blown away by people who can return to their community where they were active, where they burned all their bridges, where they created all their trouble, and,
Dude, what
and
about
go
when you
back,
see-
and not only go back, but thrive.
I did. But again, my story is I still lived at home. I was about to turn 21. I had a great job. I was in that job for decades. So I got home, I flooded myself with AA meetings, and I went back to work, and I did everything I needed to do. But you're right. I have a lot of cases where people just can't go back to that area.
And in fact, I stopped going back to Baltimore because there was a period of time where we lived in New York City, and my wife and I, because when I started to work in treatment, when I got that first job, they hired me as a business development representative in the Northeast. So
Yeah.
I was New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We were living in a small apartment in Brooklyn, and that was my territory. And my mother was still living outside of Baltimore, and I would take at the time, it was my one son, my oldest, we would go down and visit. And about a week before those planned visits, my wife would say, oh my God, here comes Baltimore Eric. Because I had so many unresolved issues about going back to Baltimore. Because when I left, I shared my circumstances. When I left Baltimore, it was,
You were on your last leg.
I was on the run, basically. And even though I think those things I had been sober and recovery for a number of years at that point, 5 years or whatever it was, which now in hindsight, I'm like, that's new.
Yeah.
Right? That's new.
Fairly new.
Right? That's new.
Sure.
Right? I thought I knew everything.
That's
but that
like the
was
time
new,
when you think
right?
you know everything.
I thought,
Yeah,
I
that's
was-
a dangerous
I
time.
was
It
sharing
is.
all over the country. I was going to conferences and conventions, and they were asking me to speak, and I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
Right? But I would get ready to go down to visit my mother, and like a switch would go
It's like a
off.
mindset.
Yeah.
And
You go right back.
I would be like hyper vigilant, and all this trauma
Heads
would
on a
come back.
swivel, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And even though I'm staying in the nicest hotel in Baltimore, and we're going to the great rest, it's still only a mile down the road
Yep.
from where I was robbing drug dealers.
The
Yeah, I mean,
crazy-
if you're at the Radisson and you go east or west in
You're
either
in-
direction,
Right.
you're in it
yeah,
really
right,
quick.
exactly.
Yeah, no
it's
doubt.
a thin city.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a city where there's a
Right,
very
because
thin,
you're at Harbor
acceptable-
East. Harbor East has the Four
Yeah.
Seasons and whatever.
Oh, yeah,
and the Pendry,
beautiful.
Yeah.
and a bunch
You go
of
to
stuff.
Patterson
But
Park, you're right there.
Well,
You're right there,
My
dude.
house was bordered Patterson Park.
Yeah.
So you're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would go, and then at one point, it just dawned on me. This is one of those recovery things. It's like, wait a minute, I can make a decision. I don't have to go. If I want to see my mother, I can bring her to me, or we can meet somewhere neutral. But it was years of me going, and it was
Yep.
like torturous, where it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to go here. And quite frankly, I haven't been in many, 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 many years.
Good.
And
good
it's
for
a
you.
place for me that just, there's no benefit in me going.
There's nothing there for you.
There's nothing there. My mother's not even there
It's like you
anymore.
don't even have family there
No.
anymore.
So for me, I have a few friends, and they just know, like, I don't come there anymore. And
When
there's
was the
a
last
great
time you were
freedom in
there?
that.
Because it's different.
So I was there. I'm trying to recall what conference was there.
Yeah.
There was a conference at
Correct. At the
Sheridan or the
Radisson right there.
right
yeah.
there.
There's a couple. There's
No, it
always
was the
like,
Sheridan right there, because across the
Right
street from
there.
in
By the
Harbor,
gallery, yeah.
Harbor East, the Sheridan, across the street from the Four Seasons, they had a conference there, and I
okay.
went, and I forget if it was NADAC or NATAL,
There's
or
some
one of these
conferences there, yeah.
conferences,
Yeah.
and I went, and I think that was the last time.
What year? Because it's different, brother.
It's gotta be
That's-
going back
that's, see, my son is 13. We probably haven't been there in 8 or 9 years.
That's exactly. It's
in 8 or
different.
9 years. It
Like
just-
the Hard Rock Cafe and Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, that's all gone.
Pavilions.
It's
they're
all gone.
They're abandoned.
It's all gone. Actually, now that you say that, I think we've been back once, because I remember being like, this was the hottest piece of real estate in all of the city, and it is abandoned.
It is nothing.
Right, it is abandoned.
From that post 2016 riot era, like walking into
Yeah.
COVID, but like the Baltimore that I know, because I've been going to Baltimore my whole life. My dad's lived in Baltimore since 1994 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I show up there and I'm like, this is bad.
You get the feeling again.
Like it's bad there now, and it breaks my heart, dude. You know what I mean? Like that city.
The,
is
the
just
city
not-
is a shell of what it was.
Oh, it is.
I mean, if you think
absolutely
back to,
mangled.
well, you don't remember this, but when the Orioles Stadium was built, Camden Yards, I mean, it was pretty good back
That's
then.
a good
So
area.
I
Yeah, it's a
I
nice area.
remember.
Stadiums, M&T Bank into the Inner Harbor, like
Right.
that stretch was awesome. My dad lives right there.
Right.
He
I
lives
loved
right on the
Camden
park.
Yards. As a kid, we would go, as a junior in high school, senior in high school, we'd buy the nosebleed seats.
Yeah, sure.
Blue
Just to get
Powell's
in.
barbecue. I mean, there's so much of Baltimore that I remember prior to me really crashing and burning. But Baltimore is really one of those cities where it's the haves and have-nots, and there's mostly have-nots.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
entire blocks just burned
Completely
down,
abandoned,
just
yeah.
decimated,
Completely
abandoned.
It's
If I had the
wild.
guts, I'd buy a block,
Oh.
because they had all types of.
Yeah, but you'd be sitting on it until you were
Yeah.
75.
Yeah,
For what?
Just to break even.
It's a
You know?
a scary proposition.
It's
Yeah,
like entire neighborhoods are ghost
Yeah.
towns. It's crazy.
Well, I use, because there's in the neighborhood I was in, there was not a lot of opportunity.
yeah, right.
And so
I'm sure.
everybody I knew is either dead or in the penitentiary.
yeah.
And I remember shooting heroin with 3 generations. I'd
Oh
be
my
with
God.
a grandfather, a father, and a grandson.
No way.
That these guys had never, we were all dope fiends.
That's a generational issue.
Yeah, it was just, it's what we did.
yeah.
Yep.
It's really what we did. And it was really just survival. So recovery has given me everything. I mean, like we just talked about, like the freedom to choose, right?
Sure.
And being, 5 years sober and being like, oh wait, I don't have to do this.
This probably isn't a
That's
good
right.
idea.
Right. I don't
you
have
know
to.
what I mean?
In fact, I went because my oldest friend, my running buddy, still lives there. And at 3 years sober, we went on a visit and I went and saw him. And he smoked crack in front of me.
Right in front of your
Really?
face.
Right in front of me.
And you were how sober, were you?
Three
About 3
years.
Wow.
3 years. And I remember going back to the hotel and my wife being like, what are you fucking thinking?
Wow.
What are you doing?
That's incredible.
Like, what? You need to go show that you're shining. You talk about low self-esteem, insecure. It's like I was going to show him how good I was doing, how well I was doing. Look at my car. Look at me. And all he cared about
Was the
did
stem,
I
dude.
have?
Yeah.
Could I give him $40? Could I give him $20? And I remember going back and sharing with, because this was my friend. This was
Right.
somebody who we came up together.
Sure.
We had done dirt together, but we always had each other's back. And I viewed this person as a friend, but I see now it was like, oh, I just wanted to show somebody I was doing well, right? It's like we
Yeah.
talk
That's
about
an esteem issue.
Yeah, we talk
Sure,
about
sure.
self-esteem,
Sure.
right? And low self-esteem or no self-esteem.
It's
Right.
funny. Dude, it's really funny you say that. I was one of my friends I grew up with, like from the time I was in high school. We had very different lives on paper, but like he and I ran around forever. You know what I mean? And around the time he and I were living in some apartment in like North Philly, like off Temple campus, like 10th and Dolphin. We're both working at this bar. And it was like time to change. Like we were in two totally different places. And I decided to go to treatment and also go to sober living away from Philly. Like I just left and I never looked back, right? And he was like, I'm just going to go to the methadone clinic. And the trajectory of our lives could not have looked different because fast forward years later, I have a job, I have 2 kids, I live in the suburbs. Dude.
He's still out there?
He's on the program.
He's on 160 milligrams of methadone, buying fake Xanax out front of the clinic like everyone else, living on OAS supportive housing in the city. And he's like, "Look how good I'm doing. I'm not using."
That's a
And I'm like-
shame.
and I remember him saying, "Hey, can you pay my phone bill so I can use my phone to call you?" And I was like, "Of course, I'll pay your phone bill every month." You know what I mean?
Did you pay it for him?
I did, yeah. But at the end of the day, I keep thinking about what you just said. Like, I did it too. I could talk to him, but I also kind of did it as like not like a flex, I would say, but to like show him this is what life can look like. I remember actually trying to get him a scholarship to a treatment center that was willing to take him off such a high dosage of methadone.
So that's you just talked
That's a
about
tough
that.
thing.
So that brings back a lot of like sadness for me. I've gone to my friend. I have not in a number of years, but I own a treatment center. I said to him, I don't care. I'll put you in treatment for a year.
yeah, you can
I'll
Whatever
put you
it
in
takes.
treatment.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Right.
I'll get you to California. I'll set you up. You can go to treatment. I am set up now to help you. And he didn't want the help. And it's a reminder to me that like you can't make people want this thing.
No, not at all.
You can't make people want this.
All you can do is pray for them.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, and hope that they come to the realization
Yeah,
one day.
and we can be an example.
Oh,
of,
yeah.
of the and my mother struggled with addiction.
Yeah.
And my mother, for the longest time, I would say I don't even know if I'd call her functional. I mean, she went to work, she raised 2 kids, myself and my sister, but she drank a lot. And then at one point in my early recovery, she got very sick. And they put her on a bunch of pain medication.
Oh, boy.
Oxys. And then they tried methadone. They tried all kinds of stuff for pain management.
Methadone
She got
for pain management?
Yeah, they would do
she
that.
She got very, very sick. And my mother eventually got strung out. And
Oh, man.
my son was a couple years old, my oldest. And I said to my mother, "Ma, I can't see you when you're drinking." Like at the time, I was in somewhat denial of the pain medication. And I remember being with her in New York. We were living in New York. She came to visit. And she nodded out at lunch.
Really?
Yeah,
When
she
was this?
nodded out at lunch. My son was probably 3.
Okay.
10 years ago.
So this was 10 years ago. And right around the time I opened the facility.
Yeah.
And I said to her, it was really tough. I said, "Ma, I can't see you like this. I can't see you like this."
Yeah.
And so fast forward 6 years ago, I get a call. No, I'm still talking to my mother routinely. I talk to
Yeah.
my mother.
Still your mother.
Probably once a week I talk to her. My mother worked in compliance for a nonprofit center in Maryland. My mother has always been a helper, but she had her own struggles.
Yeah, of course.
And about 6 years ago, she calls me and she says, maybe 7 years. And she goes, "I have a year sober."
Wow.
Nice, dude.
Oh,
She didn't call. She
didn't tell you she was getting sober. Yeah.
Own a treatment center, could have helped her a million times over. Something had transpired in her life, and it was enough to get
That's
her
great.
to stop. And she said, "I didn't want to call you till I knew I could do it."
I get why she did that.
And she
get
waited a year, and she said it's a year, and I think now she has 7.
Good for her.
Right? So it's like the power of recovery. Here's this woman. When I tell you, she used to drag me out of the gnarliest shooting gallery.
Wow.
And then had her own struggles with addiction, and then got sober herself,
She did it, man.
right? And is still active. My mother retired a year ago, and she's my stepfather passed away, and she retired up to the Poconos, and she's struggling to find her little meetings that she likes. It's a small town, and
I was
a
just
weird
going to
area.
say, that's a tough
it's
area.
a small
weird area.
town, and so she's struggling, but she's still doing the thing, and
Good for her.
I just remember like pulling the car over and crying
Oh, wow. When she had her year?
when she had her year. I just pulling the car
Dude,
over.
you didn't even know. That's
Yeah,
so
I had no
crazy.
idea. And here's the other thing. She had gone to a center. When you're in the industry, the addiction treatment industry, some people you like, just like life, and some people
Sure.
you don't.
Correct.
And there were some guys that I don't particularly care for, but that's where she went to outpatient treatment.
Okay.
And I called them, because we all know each other.
We all know each other.
And
Sure.
I picked up the phone and I called them and I said, "Listen, I know we've had our differences that we don't get along, well, not get along, but
Right.
we run in different circles, but I want to say, like, my mother raves about you guys, and I have it, like, I'm a debt of gratitude,
Definitely.
right?
For what you
For
did.
what you guys
Sure.
did,
Yeah. They probably
Right?
didn't even know.
right? They probably didn't,
Yeah.
but I thought like it was important for me to be like,
You're grateful,
you
man.
create. I mean, like.
You paid homage.
Like my mother has a relationship with my kids that I don't know she would. In fact, I know she wouldn't have because I was at the point where I couldn't let her see them.
You were on the verge of cutting her off, probably
Yes.
at a certain point. Am I right about that?
Yeah, because the visit that culminated where she literally was in a full opiate nod, and I just was like, I've come. And here's the thing, still look good. At the time, I was like, oh, in all honesty, I was like, yeah, and I said, like, I can't.
That's because you weren't pulling her out of a band.
I can't.
You know what I mean?
I can't do that. I'm not. I came this far. I'm not subjecting my. My kids have never
gotta
seen
protect
me
your
use.
kids, of
I
course.
just. And now they have. They have an incredible relationship.
That's
So
great.
my mother comes out a couple weeks a year, and we fly her out.
Are you living in
So
California full time?
I actually live in Utah. I live in Park City, Utah.
Oh, wow.
And so I have my oldest is a competitive snowboarder. And what happened was
Sam was telling me
Yeah,
about that.
and
That's awesome, man.
His son's like Sean White.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wouldn't go that far.
He's getting there, brother.
He's pretty
He's
good.
13 years old.
So first of all,
He's
he's
pretty
13
young,
years
though.
old.
Yeah.
He's 6 feet tall,
Oh, my God.
size 12.
Where's he
boot.
get that height, man?
Not from me.
Yeah.
Not from me. That's for sure.
Oh,
but,
my God.
So, one of the things that I'll say in terms of business and in starting the center that I started, I was always somebody that I thought would get ahead. Like, I saw trends, right? I saw trends. And so, an example was I worked for some guys and they got acquired by a private equity organization. And I saw that I didn't want to work for that type of organization and I left. And then I helped build some guys' business development team.
Yep.
And then when we couldn't come to an agreement on what my value, what my worth was,
Absolutely.
I left. And right after that, so we're only talking 2 or 3 years in the business, I started an independent consulting company. I bet on myself. I said, I'm
Absolutely.
really good at communicating what recovery's done for me, even though I didn't get to go to treatment in the sense that we talk about treatment now as a big business. I didn't get that opportunity. I understood what, communicating what it could do for somebody.
Sure.
And I think that's what made me a successful business development rep. And I looked back at being in the streets of Baltimore and coming up and being like, well, if I've gotten to this, I don't know what I can get to, but I'm going to bet on myself. And so I don't think I had been in the industry 2.5, 3 years. I went out on my own. And this was around the time where they were cracking down in Florida and Orange County, and people were going to prison and seeing fairly substantial fines and prison sentences. And I had created an organization. I mean, we did everything from marketing and relationship management to utilization review. It was a real business, but I was concerned that I was going to get grouped into this kind of netherworld of patient brokering.
Yep.
And so I said really quickly, I need to open my own center. And I did that, and we're going on 11 years.
That's great.
11 years, 80 beds in Southern California and LA.
Cool.
And like well respected and well known in what some might call a tumultuous treatment market. You know what I mean?
It's changed so. It's funny. I sit there and I talk to my business partner all the time. We talk daily about the industry doesn't even look like the industry that I started in, 14 plus years ago.
Even for me, 7 years ago, it looks different.
Oh my God, yeah.
The amount of centers, the amount of shenanigans.
Oh yeah.
The patient is so different.
So different.
So when I started,
You're right.
when I opened the center, it was right on the heels of the Affordable Care Act. So we opened up this whole window of clients, 18 to 26 that could stay on their parents' insurance, now had access, had not aged out. And my center at the time would have looked like, if you had come in 10 years ago, it looked like a young adult treatment center.
I'm sure. You also have to keep in mind, that was the height of the opioid epidemic. We all work in this industry. When was the last time we helped or answered a call for a guy that got on the phone and said, yeah, I'm using Perk 30s 5 times a day? You don't see it anymore.
Well, you don't see it. You don't see it in pill form.
You don't see it,
you
right?
You do see it in
people using fentanyl and stuff like that.
Polysubstance,
But the
fentanyl.
way that it was, especially for me as a millennial, it was like 70% of us were all using oxycodone.
It was
moving our way to a brown bag of dope.
I'd say
you know
70
I mean?
to 80% of my client base was straight opioid.
Right, of
when
course.
I opened.
Sure.
Even when I started in this field, guys I would help were 90% opioid users.
Of course.
You know what I
And
mean?
now, not only the drugs that they're using has shifted, but the amount of co-occurring mental health,
The mental health is
persistent
insane.
mental health issues that these clients have are coming with. And as much as the treatment industry has done for me in my life personally, I'm also one of the biggest critics. I think as a whole, our industry has done a lot of harm to these clients because I can tell you there are centers in California that let them have their laptops in detox, their cell phones. They treat couples. They pay for things.
All they want to do is bill.
Right.
They want to bill the insurance company. That's why, personally, I'm not on the marketing end anymore. I walk through every treatment center that I put people in. I want to talk to the CEO. I want to know what clients are there. I want to know their census. What do you got going on as far as age? Can they have their laptop? Can they have their phone?
What's the makeup? What are the rules? What kind of treatment?
I
What
want
are
to
you
know
doing?
all the rules, what my people could do, can't do, whatever. and then we go from there. You know what I mean? But you're right. There's people out there that, and I always look at it like all they want to do is bill the insurance company.
And it's created a lot of problems because, so for example, we're a full continuum of care program. And for the first 30, if you're in detox and residential, you don't see a cell phone. You don't see a
course not.
laptop.
No.
But in
If you need it for 15 minutes, you're going to have a rep sitting right there with you.
A supervised case management,
Sure.
closed door meeting. You need to get some information, yes. But there are literally places that do not care. And what happens is this client now has become indoctrinated in this idea that, oh, I can't get what I want. They're not doing what I want at this center. Well, there's 1,000 centers that will do whatever I ask them to.
Yep.
And these clients know their insurance policy. They know that they have
They know everything.
They know
Oh, yeah.
everything about the
Oh, yeah.
policy.
It's so
they know what the
different.
policy pays. They know, and it's been indoctrinated. And also, we and I think Sam and I talked about this the last time we were together, which is this idea where every center, they think they're trying, they sell, it's a marketing pitch that they are recreating the wheel. We're doing the modality of the day. We're doing
course.
this and we're doing that.
Trauma-informed
We're
care,
trauma.
X, Y,
And
and Z. Yeah.
I tell my team, I don't want to hear any of that. We are a safe, loving, caring, challenging place. We want to safely detoxify a client. We want to give them some education and information about their illness. We want them to stay 30, 45, 60 days. We want to take care of their case management needs. So if they're on FMLA or short-term disability, so that they can focus on being in treatment.
Sure.
Right? That's coming from when I was working with unions. Let's take the stuff that we're in control of that we can do right away so that the client isn't somewhere else thinking about paying their bills or
Right.
paying this or paying that,
Yeah.
so that they can focus on the care. We're giving them solid abstinence-based care. We're giving them some very basic tools, and then we try to get them to go to the next step.
Right.
And I tell my staff, if we do that, we've done our job.
Sure.
We're not here to sell them
Sure.
on luxury this or modality this
Yeah.
and trauma that, because
Amenities.
yeah, we're not here to sell amenities.
You're not on vacation. They're not going to help you work on your backhand in tennis.
Right.
We're there for therapy, for therapeutic reasons.
I
But
think
what you said earlier hit right on the head. When I put one of my members, and I handle the addiction for the Machinists Union. That's part of the reason I started this podcast, was to keep in touch with my membership after I help them. Because when you do follow-up work, you can only do it for 8-10 months when you're moving at the volume I'm moving at.
Sure.
So I want to reach the people I've helped 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, so we do this. But when one of my machinist members call me, I take care of everything, like FMLA paperwork and short-term disability. I want you to do nothing but concentrate on treatment while you're in there. Because if you're worried about your money or your paperwork or whatever, like, we're literally wasting a week of your time in treatment, and that's an important week.
Yeah, you have to. I always say we're in the customer service business.
100%.
I drill that into my staff, which is, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we
Yep.
know that this was such an important decision that you made.
Sure.
Let me help you with your bags. Let me get you settled in. What right now, if you had to list 3 things that are on your top concerns while you're here in treatment, like that you need addressed right away so you can focus on being here and being where your feet are.
Sure.
What are they? Oh, I need my short-term disability filled out. I need to make sure, my wife is at home trying to sell our house.
Oh, God.
Right? Or whatever
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we try to make it so that those things, we remove those barriers to them seeking treatment, right?
Absolutely.
Because they've made a huge decision. They've entrusted you
That's right.
with their life.
Sometimes that only comes once.
Right.
You got to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And so I always say customer service first. Let's get to the bottom line of why, what we're doing and the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
I gotta say, I think if a center came to me today, was marketing their services or marketing their product, and the first thing they said was, "At this center, we don't put up with any bullshit," I would be so attracted to
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's
I would be
Absolutely.
so
That's
attracted.
kind of been our for lack of a better term,
More than
pitch,
anything,
because you really have to cut through the noise.
Sure.
And listen, I have a love-hate relationship with California. I will be the first
Yeah.
to say it, right? And there's a lot of good treatment, but there's a lot of really terrible players.
You got to
in
sift
the
through
industry.
them. That's for sure.
And that's everywhere.
Sure.
That's all over the
All the
country.
congested
Absolutely.
markets.
That's healthcare,
Yep.
right? So I don't want to just talk about addiction treatment in a negative light. It's helped a lot of people, but I think
Yep.
when we can tell people the truth, like we don't have fancy marketing pitches. That's our pitch. Like
That's the right pitch.
We're here to help. We're here to there's no bullshit. Yeah, it's a nice place. Yeah, we have a chef that cooks your meals. Yeah, because we want them to be healthy. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's safe. Yeah, it's all those things. But that's not what we're here for. And because of where I stopped using, I didn't even know that what I do, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Right? I literally didn't know that there was treatment where they would, take you places and you had outings and you had this and you had that. That didn't exist in my life.
No.
It certainly didn't exist when I went to treatment.
Right.
Dude, of
That-
course
it-
not.
it
You know what
didn't.
I remember? I remember a time where I would go to the same local, which is now like a state-run facility. I would go to the same local treatment center every time because I couldn't leave the state, okay, due to whatever reason. And I would get there, and by the time it was day 4, I'd be sick as a dog. In the end, I was coming off of a vicious drinking habit, right?
Sure.
I'd be so sick, and they would literally look at me and say, if you don't go to group today, pack your shit, get the fuck out. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
hear ya.
That's what they would say. They would say, get the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? And that's, if you wanted to be there, you had to engage in it, because guess what? There weren't a lot of beds.
Right.
There's
And
too many beds now.
There was a wait list.
And
there
if
was
you
a
had
waiting
to be
list.
there, you had to have your deductible ready to go up front, and you had to fucking engage. You had to be in that program, and they weeded out the bad players. And what it ended up doing was creating a community that was conducive to progress. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Conducive
we were
to
all
recovery.
we were all staying the full 30, and we were all going to the next step. And anybody that wasn't in line with what recovery really looked like, see ya.
Right,
You're
because
out.
you're gonna eventually ruin the community.
Of
And if you
course,
ruin the
bad
community,
eggs.
now you're screwed for 6 weeks.
It's funny
you know what I mean?
because
Until everybody cycles
It's funny
out.
because that's my business. I had to, a long time ago, have some faith that by providing the right service, because when we started, we didn't, we weren't killing it. We were like every client, it mattered. We had payroll, we had rents, we
Sure.
had medical bills, doctors, and when a client who had great insurance that was paying us was acting like a fool, and we challenged him. It was almost like, are we going to fall in line with what everybody else is doing, which is just let this guy dictate what he's going to do
Right.
as far as his treatment episode? Or are we going to early on have the courage to be like, oh, you don't want to be in group? Well, then you got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you even here?
Why are you here? And try to get them to see, like, hey man, listen, you are welcome to destroy your own life. You are welcome to make any decision you want, right? But you can't do it here. And because there are people here that want to stop.
Yep.
That want to stop, that want to get the information, that want to get the tools. And real quickly, we had to learn, like, we have to have some faith that we might even throw this client out. We might administratively discharge this client or find another organization for them to go to that's
Right.
more suitable for
Sure.
them, right? Because they were so disruptive to the milieu. We had to teach ourselves. We had to program ourselves like, okay, if we provide the right service, the business side of it will take care of itself.
Correct.
And we've had, listen, I was sharing with Sam, in almost 11 years, we've had plenty of years where I thought we were closing the doors.
Yeah, I believe it.
Right? Because we don't have private equity backing us. I haven't sold, my stake in the facility. I could have. There were times where I could have.
Sure.
And we've decided to stay on this path. And sometimes it's a journey. It's a journey. And I have to stay true to like, oh, I remember when that facility got purchased and I didn't like how it was run, my first job, right? And I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like everything being distilled to a spreadsheet and a number and a KPI. And I get it because it's a business, but I still am a believer that like if we provide the right service,
You'll always
then,
have business.
then we'll be successful.
Sure.
It'll work
Right?
itself
It
out,
might
man.
not. It might not be. You know, you hear about what these guys are doing now and selling and this and that. It might never be that, but at the end of the day, I can go home and lay my head on my pillow and know that I did the right thing.
Yes.
Because I'm still a guy that I got to stay sober, right? So I have to. So my business practices need to align with my recovery life. And we were talking about a few people earlier on
Sure.
before the podcast started that we know who, unfortunately, the business practices did not necessarily align all the time with what recovery looked like, and they're not here anymore, or they've been using. I can't tell you the number of people I know who were owners in my position who
Picked up.
who started using and cannot stop.
You know what it's like, and I've noticed this over the decades of being sober and being in this business, that some addicts out there that do get into this line of work, eventually, and not all of them, obviously, but you go back to a drug addicted mindset.
For sure.
And the mindset is, I'll sell my grandmother's soul for a referral. You know what I mean? You'll do what you did 19 years ago to get high. Well, here they'll do whatever they have to do to get somebody in treatment and whatever. And then that mindset just runs away from them. You know what I mean? And that's why
Creates
they
a
were locking
terrible
people up in
dynamic.
Palm Beach County, Florida years ago, because that was the mindset, in my opinion, you know?
In those congested markets, 100%. Yes.
So let me ask you, in your program, I know you're involved, right?
Oh,
In the program. Yeah.
So yes, I'm still involved in the
Okay.
program, and I'll tell you what I've started doing over the last couple years. So I moved to Park City from LA. I had some meetings I liked in LA. When I was in New York, I had some meetings. I had the same sponsor for 15 years. And a handful of years ago, I moved to Park City, and I'm at school dropping off my kids, and there's another parent there and knows what I do for a living. So he kind of connects the dots, and he goes, you're a friend of Bill's? And I go, I am. And he goes, well, I don't see you at any meetings.
How about that?
Love that.
He's
So he
in
pulled
the
my
program
car.
too.
Yeah, so he pulls my car. He goes, I don't see you in any meetings. And I go, okay. And he goes, so we're on the school camp out. And he comes up to me again and he goes, listen, there's a meeting. It meets 7 mornings a week at 7 a.m. It's 43 minutes long. There's a timer. There's no bullshit. And at 7:43 we end. We're out of there at 7:45. Come to the meeting. So I said, okay. I start
That's
going.
early.
So I go to the meeting.
That's
So I go-
early for you.
For
It's
a
early
guy
for
like
you, but
me,
I got
that's
three.
early for
I
you,
have 3
brother.
kids. They're up at 5
you
in the
ain't gotta
morning.
tell me, bro.
Right? So one step further, he goes, we're going to the meeting for a couple months together, a couple days a week. He comes up to me and goes, you're all right, so you're back in meetings, but you're not doing any work.
This dad just
My
calling.
God.
Yeah.
This dad's just calling your card
just
and
pulling
line.
my card.
Oh my God.
But you're not doing any
It's
work.
God's will, not
So you're
mine.
How
not
do
doing-
you know I'm not
you're
doing
so
any work?
blessed.
He goes,
Yeah.
you're not doing any work. He goes, who's sponsoring you? I go, well, I got this guy, but we're not talking because we've been, we're friends. And he goes, listen, I have less time than you, but if your ego's not attached to your time, maybe we could sit down and do some work together. And I've seen this guy, successful surgeon, a father, a husband,
Yeah.
all the things, they say, find who has what you want.
Correct.
Right? He seems peaceful.
He's a little more connected
Right.
to God than you
he
are.
seems
at the time.
peaceful at the
Yeah.
time.
Possibly,
He's,
yeah.
Right. So I start meeting this guy
That's cool.
at 6 a.m. once a week, an hour before the meeting, and then we go to the meeting together. And then I go one day a week. I just go to the meeting.
Yeah.
I cut myself. But we've been doing work actively for a couple
That's cool.
years, and I just did another 4th and 5th step with him.
Really?
And so I'm in the program.
Yeah,
I
okay,
I
that's
am,
cool.
because and listen, in 18 years, I've had periods where I went to a lot of meetings, where I was definitely more spiritually fit, where I was definitely more connected, where I was definitely more honest, where I was definitely doing the right thing. And then the life that we get from being in recovery gets very full, and it tends to be, for me, it's the first thing where I go, I don't need to go as much, and I don't need to do this, and I don't need to do that. And so I'm in the program. I believe in the program, and my life is best when I'm in the program.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
And my facility is based on we have to have licensed clinicians and medical doctors and evidence-based practices, but we are an abstinence-based program. We believe in the 12 steps. We espouse the 12 steps. We try to get people they go to meetings every day, or meetings come into the organization. We believe panels. We believe in meetings. We believe in the 12 steps. So
that's cool.
To me, that's still my foundation. And we try as much as we can within the guise of treatment to incorporate that.
Cool. What if somebody was looking, because there are people that, and this podcast doesn't advocate for one particular way of getting sober. I use the 12 steps and
As
the program.
do I.
So did Sam. So did you. But we know there's other things like smart recovery and things like that. Like, does your program deal with other than 12 steps?
So we try to, I'm trying to think of the right word. We try to show clients there are other ways. So I will tell you, I've had a long-standing meditation practice.
Cool.
I have a friend who created a program based around Buddhist recovery principles. I'm not a Buddhist, but I have a mindfulness practice.
Okay, that's cool.
And so there is a organization, very much like Alcoholics Anonymous, I won't name it, but there's an organization that has regular meetings in this fellowship, and we take clients to that. We take clients to Smart Recovery.
That's cool.
When clients express a desire to go have a religious practice, if they're in day treatment with sober living, we take them out. We take them to their
Their
church,
respective congregations.
Right.
It gets a little complicated with as many
definitely
people
can.
I'm sure
as
it
we
does,
have.
yeah.
But we recognize the importance, and when people in treatment show a desire to have something like that, I think it's a good step, because and I'm not terribly religious, but I have recognized that I can't do it by myself. So it's a real good indicator. Like, okay, these people have moved from self-reliance, or at least they're investigating, right? The investigation process. Hey, these guys what they're telling me this whole time I'm in treatment is I can't do it on my own. That I got to stop believing my own bullshit. Right? So when somebody says to me, I want to go to church, I want to go to synagogue, I want to go to the Buddhist temple, I want to go to the Krishna temple or whatever, and we can make that happen for them and give them some experience. And quite frankly, it does break up the monotony of treatment, right? Treatment, I always say treatment, if done right, is redundant, right? Because what happens is I'm trying to give these people, not me, I'm not a clinician or I'm a group facilitator, but the way we've set up the program is like, we want them just constantly being reminded about their illness, about the way out of the illness, what they need to do. And so the biggest complaint that we get is, oh man, we hear this group over and over again. My answer is yes, because it needs to be repeated. It's a practice. This
Well,
is
look
why they
at what
say
you did to get there.
Yeah.
You reiterated things on a daily basis. You woke up, did the same thing for a decade or however long. Now you need the other side of it.
It's amazing that when we're in active addiction, what we will do day in, day out, the level of repetition, the level of stuff that we will submit.
Oh, your day is Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
I
it's
knew a
horror
guy in
version of Groundhog
Chicago
Day.
who was an addict. He was about a $400 a day addict.
Yeah.
No job. Every day, think about this for a second. Every day, You wake up $400 in debt. You have to make that up every day just to be like kind of normal.
It's a lot of recyclables.
Like that's, dude, that's
There's
a lot of theft.
There's a ton of
It's a lot
hustle.
recyclable.
That's a lot of hustle to
It's a
keep
lot of
that
hustle.
going.
Could you even imagine that type of job? Because that's what that is. That's like, that's ridiculous.
Well, I always say
You
the
know?
hardest job I ever had was active addiction.
Without a doubt.
Between heroin, crack, methadone, and running the streets day in and day out, there was nothing harder than that.
I always held a good bartending job that kept me so
I couldn't
sick.
hold a job. There was no job.
I would
for
lose
me.
them a lot. Like I would lose
I
them a
worked
lot.
from the time I was 12 to now, and I'll be 60 in October. So it's like I never had the issue of not working. I always worked for what I needed to get drunk, to get a little high, to just whatever. And when I went to treatment, I spent 27 days in treatment. I never relapsed. I went one time. I came back to South Philly. I went back to work, the job I loved. I flooded myself with meetings, but I never had the issue of like having to steal or cheat or I don't want to say cheat because that's a, whatever. But I mean, I always worked. You know what I mean? And that's sometimes that's rare in this industry.
Oh,
you know
it's
what I mean?
very rare. It's very rare.
What's so funny when I think about active addiction is that I could make any amount of money either last or disappear in like 36 hours.
Oh yeah.
So if I had like $30, I would stretch that $30 as long as humanly possible. But if you also gave me $3,000, it was the same amount of time.
Yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean.
You'd
I was
stretch
just
it to
good for about a
36
day and a
hours.
half based on
Right.
how much pep I had in my step.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I know that I don't have it in me to go back to that.
No, no way.
I just don't have the energy.
Yeah, I don't think I'd survive another time. You know what I mean? Like, especially being this many years sober. Like, I don't think. I always say if I relapse tomorrow, I'll be in divorce court by Friday and
For sure.
jail by Sunday or what. It's just, I don't think I'd be able to survive it.
There's like a lot
But
of
I don't want to
guys-
find out.
No,
I
no,
know
me
that.
either.
I know that.
Definitely not.
I always hear about like other people in the industry that like pick up, and they always pick up in like a weird way. Like I hear about people using like kratom now, or like guys.
That's a horrible, wretched drug that they sell over the counter.
And you can buy
gas
it. You can buy it
stations.
at the gas station.
Yep.
Well, I
The
hear,
amount of
like-
clients that I see on that now are
It's ridiculous, and it's
is
a nasty
insane.
withdrawal period too.
But like I hear about guys with like 10 years and either A, they got a prescription for Adderall somehow. You know what I mean? Because they thought they were good, or B, they're buying kratom from the local gas station. I'm like, first of all, dude, if I pick up, I'm smoking crack within 2 days, and you won't see me. You know what I mean, bro? You will not fucking see me.
Well,
You
that's
will have
one
a
of
hard
those.
time
It's
finding
funny
me.
you say it's one of those things where my wife's asked. She goes, about using and about my using, and she's like, because you hear about people who are like, keep it under wraps
For a
a
while,
while.
buddy.
And I said, you don't have to worry about that. You will know because I will be gone.
You won't
You
see
will
me.
not see me.
And-
That is
but here's the
just
other
my
thing.
MO.
I'll be done in like a week. You know what I mean? Like I'll run clean into a wall and spend every cent I possibly own in less than 10 business days. Like I'll be done.
It's a
You know what I
scary.
mean?
It's a scary.
Yeah, sure.
Like I'll fall flat on my face, and
That's why
God
we
willing,
keep.
that never
That's
happens.
why we keep doing what
Right.
we're doing.
Well, that's why we're here doing this,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because we
to
want
try to spread the message a little bit. I mean, we're trying to spread the message of inspiration, like what you bring to the table, what you've been through, what you have now in your life. That's inspirational. Like that's why we're here, to help other people that were like or are like us, to just try to get to the other side. That's why we have speakers like you on that have been through it.
Well, I know that I was
know?
so hopeless, and so any opportunity that I can have to share some hope,
Sure.
which is like, don't stop trying, right? Because I think for me, that was one of the things. I picked up one day chips,
Sure.
hundreds of them,
For
and
sure.
and the amount of and not that anybody was shaming me, right? But the amount of shame that I felt, and the amount of embarrassment,
You
and
put
the
it on
amount of
yourself.
guilt that,
Sure.
that I put on myself. But I think the one thing I never stopped, right? I never stopped. Even if I went to meetings, because I went to meetings to try to find guys that would just give me money. I wasn't stopping.
Right.
I had no
They're
intention.
all the wrong reasons.
I had
Dude,
no
I
intention.
used to see the guys that would load up a cup of coffee because that was their meal for the
Right.
day. They'd use the instant creamer.
Yeah.
Like they would load it up. Like this coffee would be white, dude. You know what I mean? And that was
That's
their
their
meal.
calorie content
Yo,
for the
that
day.
was their
Yeah.
meal, dude.
Yeah, but
Pretty
I
I remember
Sad.
that guy.
yeah, and I remember having a trash bag and being like, and somebody hugging me and making me feel welcome.
And not
Right.
giving you $1.
And but saying like you're in the right place.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
You're in the right place. And like, it's one of those things, it's where it's like, here was somebody loving me until I could love myself. And that I was not one
Took
of
a
these
while,
guys
yeah.
that stopped and then was like, oh, pink cloud, and my life fell in place right away. I literally thought about getting loaded or killing myself probably every day for about 18 months.
I believe it.
It was a really
I believe it.
And you talk about like you were 20, 21,
Almost 21.
almost 21 with a great job and a career and money and this and that, and I was 31 with a 400 credit score, not knowing that I couldn't go back to the industry that I had worked in, that I had done well in.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just seemed like I wasn't going to stay clean. I wasn't going to be able to stop if I went back to that.
Sure.
And had no idea. In fact, I sold shoes in the mall. And I remember being so humiliated, like getting up. I got on a bus. I took this bus. And I hated every minute of it. Literally every minute of it.
This is in Florida.
This was in Florida.
Yeah.
I hated it. And then I would come back to the halfway house. And really, the instruction was like, hey, the car's going to be out in front of the fucking building at 6 o'clock. Be in the car.
Yeah.
That was it. It was like,
Yeah.
and the best thing I did was I stayed in that place for over a year.
Yeah, of course.
Because my whole routine was I would stop using,
Yep.
I'd get a little time, I'd go back to work, I'd get a little bit of money, I'd get a girl, or I'd get lonely, and then next thing
Sure.
you know, I'm smoking crack.
You're back at it.
I'm smoking crack.
Dude, aren't the simplicities of sober living so beautiful, though? Like, think about your life today.
It's
Think about your schedule. You know what I mean?
well, it's funny because
You
we're-
wouldn't have been able to handle the schedule back then.
no way.
No.
I mean, without a doubt.
No.
No way. I can barely handle the schedule now.
No,
Right,
it's,
exactly.
it's a lot. It's a lot. But you know what? I'm so grateful for those times. I'm so grateful for
They're
like
learning
the-
experiences.
and I remember being like hearing guys say like, "Oh, it gets greater later," and all this other stuff that I thought was so corny, right? And now it's like fast forward all these years, and I go like, I could not have imagined. And not that life is not without challenges and difficulties, but I
Sure.
could not have imagined my life. I could not write this,
No.
which is one of those like amazing recovery things, which is like, and I remember my first sponsor saying like, you will sell yourself short. Like if all I wanted was like a girlfriend, a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And he's like, you will be selling yourself so short. I had no idea what he meant. Right. And that's being able to be in a place to deal with these issues. Like I have a 13-year-old son he is a man. This guy is 6 feet tall and has all the issues that a teenage boy has.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've ever had a teenage boy.
Of course.
So the amount of learning that we're going through,
God bless you.
right?
Yeah.
It's a real interesting thing. And, the 9-year-old has his things and the 4-year-old has his things. But if you had told me, right, go back to that 4-step.
Right.
So anytime I get, this is a good thing I do, because sometimes they drive me fucking nuts.
Of course.
Right? They drive me nuts. I'm complaining about how expensive they are, how much time they require, how much more money I would have, all these things.
Their lack of
and
gratitude.
Then,
Dude,
how
yeah,
these,
yeah.
they're so like.
How can you not be grateful? You're
like,
four.
listen, I grew
Dude,
up,
I used to
grew up-
lock myself in the downstairs bathroom on occasion, and all three of them would be banging on the door. Daddy, let us in. Being like, oh my God, just
the
save
two
me.
oldest just went to 7 weeks of sleepaway camp,
Yeah.
right? we're going back to Park City next week. They go to private school, just these things. And when I get upset or I get frustrated or I get short-tempered, which I do.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're human.
I think back to like, what was that definition of success in that 4-step? What were those things I wanted? And I have all of it.
You do.
And then some. And then some.
That's a great explanation. It's a really good explanation. I'll tell you, I really enjoyed the heck out of this episode. I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story. It is full of inspiration. And we're going to end it here. This was, in my opinion, a fine episode. I appreciate you coming on, Eric. My name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And this is Tenacious Recovery, the podcast.
I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Paskin, I just want to say thank you, man. Your perspective's so refreshing. And I just I'm really grateful.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really enjoyed it.
No, it was all our pleasure. And God willing, we'll see you next time.